Welcome to Athens Happens. I'm Emily Zeiler, Digital Managing Editor at The New Political.
And I'm Kuhn, Senior Digital Producer.
Athens Happens is a podcast brought to you by The New Political, a student publication dedicating to explaining the nuances of Ohio University, Athens, and state politics.
You can find new episodes on Monday at thenewpolitical.com or wherever else podcasts can be downloaded.
On this special episode, we discuss the history of the Athens Halloween Block Party, as well as talking to Mayor Patterson about the recent cancellation of the event due to the ongoing effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
So, the Halloween Block Party, big OU tradition, has been canceled this year, but also it was canceled last year, largely for the same reasons, although slightly different. Last year was canceled just because of the pandemic. There wasn't really any people here anyways. And this year it's canceled due to the Delta variant, which is causing growing concerns, especially about public gatherings. We're going to talk about the history a little bit, if you want to go into that.
Yeah, okay. So the Athens Halloween Block Party actually started in 1974, and from what I've heard and read, I believe in articles from the Athens News, was that it actually started from a group of OU students that physically blocked Court Street and just threw a party.
Yeah.
Which I guess double meaning to the term block party for
yeah, absolutely.
which we love. And it's also grown in popularity over time with do you remember how much what am I trying to say? The highest amount of people that have been there for the block party.
Yeah, so attendance averages between 10,000 and 36,000.
That's a lot of people, yeah.
36,000 would be a peak year. Probably not going to be that many just there on a normal year, but somewhere between there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure any number over, 10 is not safe for any public gathering.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So I think 10,000 is a little too much.
I think 10,000 is kind of too many.
I think it's also important to note with the block party is that the OU students that have to live in the dorms, there's just tightened security, which sometimes can be a nuisance for many of them.
Yeah.
But some of the requirements is the students have to wear wristbands, and so do their guests, and the RAs and volunteers have to check them. And the $50 fee, or it was $30 before, but it's $50 now.
Yeah, it seems the fee's just slowly gone up over time.
I've only ever known it as $50.
I also have.
And apparently this year I've heard from underclassmen that are currently living in dorms that they're not allowed to bring guests as well.
Okay, so they're just not doing guests at all this year?
Which is what I'm pretty sure they did last year as well.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yeah, and they lock all of the doors to a given dorm except one, which is where the RAs are stationed, and they'll check wristbands as people come in.
Yeah, the main doors of each of the dormitories is typically the one that's left open.
Yep.
And then they have people stationed at the side doors.
Yes, they do.
I don't want to compare it to a prison, but there's people guarding.
Yeah, they do. They have it locked down very tight. I assume that that's because they've had people that don't belong in the dorms coming into the dorms, especially during Halloween, because it's an especially high traffic time of year.
Especially high traffic, especially high amount of parties that are occurring in Athens as people are celebrating Halloween.
Absolutely. So transitioning into the sort of effects of the Halloween block party, it seems from what I read in some TNP stories, it actually doesn't generate any revenue for the university especially, but also for the city.
Which is wild if
it
you
is
really
kind of
think
wild,
about it.
Given how many people are coming.
Yeah.
I feel it would do something.
You gotta think with people coming from even out of town, those are people that aren't here on a typical occasion. You have to be spending money somewhere.
Yeah, but it seems like the university, as of a few years ago at least, was spending around $100,000 a year toward Halloween, and Athens City was spending around $70,000.
I wonder if this was pre or post budget crisis for OU.
Amidst budget
Oh wait,
crisis.
why did I say post? We are still in
Yeah,
a
I was
budget
gonna
crisis.
say, I don't know what you're talking about.
Um, it's a really nice event. I didn't really participate my freshman year, but I'm kind of sad that I don't have the chance to this year. But there's always next year if people are being safe and we don't have to worry. Hopefully, COVID is still not as up in the headlines and affecting every aspect of our life.
Well, I guess you just have to wait and see, huh?
I guess so.
So you actually interviewed Mayor Patterson, correct?
Yes, I did.
For this podcast.
Mm-hmm. He ended up calling me first in Messenger, which is always fun.
That's good. That's good.
But yeah, we just had a short, I believe it was 7-minute discussion about Athens and why the city decided to cancel the block party this year, or so from my understanding, since this is both something between the university and the city, the city primarily, other than obviously spending some money towards it, their biggest thing is that city council has to block off they have to pass an ordinance to even shut down Court Street in that area for that time. So in a discussion before deciding if council was going to bring that up into question, they were Patterson and all the other, can't remember the other actors that are always looking at the COVID numbers right now off the top of my head, but they were looking at their indicators, which Patterson was explaining to me, and how they're hey, yeah, this isn't the smartest idea to have right now in our pandemic. So
all right, so we'll just let him explain it, I guess.
Yep. Okay. My first question is, can you explain why, the reasoning behind, canceling the Halloween block party this year?
Sure. I mean, first off, it's kind of self-explanatory with the fact that, we're still under the global pandemic with COVID-19, and in particular with the Delta variant, which is much more infectious than the original Delta when it hit.
Okay. And I only have one other question, and I don't know if you would know the answer to this. I just wasn't able to get into contact with any business owners. But does the Halloween block party, in your knowledge, affect businesses specifically are in Court Street? Does it bring in more business? Or I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, it's a great question. And let me kind of follow up with, the indicators that I use when it comes to COVID-19 Delta variant. The city of Athens has four viral load sampling sites, which is interesting. It's used in our sewer system, and we deployed it, one at the wastewater treatment plant at the point at which all sewage comes into the wastewater treatment plant. And that was put in place, I want to say 6 months ago, maybe even longer. And then we got a grant from DSA, from a department here in the state of Ohio, to purchase 3 other auto sampling systems. And we placed one at the Richland Avenue roundabout. We placed another one down on the west side of the city, kind of near where Athens Uncorked is. And then we placed a third one, or the third of these 3, down by the public library. And that gave us a more granular indications as to where there might be increasing viral load in our sewage system, and what the viral load indicators help us with. It kind of gives us a 4 to 7 day look ahead, if that makes sense, because those indicators in terms of the COVID-19 genes that are floating around in our sewer system, coming from people, obviously, we're having those analyzed twice a week. Those get analyzed by a lab at Ohio University, Dr. Karen Kashigano's lab. And we get the results. And anytime you start to see an increase in the viral load, that's an indicator that we're likely to see an increase in positive cases within a certain sector of the city if we see a rise. Or if we see a decrease, that's a great sign as well. And I look at these things every time they come in, and the most recent ones were showing that there is a rise in viral load occurring right now over by the library's site as well as on the depot site. Ohio University has several viral load sampling systems on campus as well, and they're monitoring what's going on across the campus with any increases or decreases in viral load that's picked up with this technology. That's one thing. The other thing is looking at the cases, and while the cases have been shown to slowly drop, we still have as of yesterday, 342 positive cases. Unfortunately, we also had 4 deaths, one of which was an individual who was in the 20 to 29-year-old age range, which was really difficult to hear. The other 2 were in the 70 to 79-year-old age group. So those are, again, some of the other indicators for making decisions like this. And that's what we've been tracking all along. The businesses on Court Street, I've spoken to a number of the bar owners. I spoke to them last year in particular, prior to the November timeframe. I was bringing them together to kind of get a sense as to how things were going as the bars started opening up again. I've been meeting with them on and off throughout 2020. I don't think that I really reached out to them, have spoken to them in 2021. But during one of the conversations that we had before the Halloween timeframe in 2020, a lot of the bar owners indicated that they don't find the Halloween block party as something that's generating more revenue than normal, because they end up having to hire more staff to come in, because they do have a large influx of individuals that are coming into the bar, and so they have to bring on more bartenders, they have to bring on more bar backs, they have to bring on possibly more people checking IDs. But again, that was what they had indicated to me, that they were not necessarily seeing an increase in revenue. But that's just one of many sectors across the city that could be seeing revenue coming in or not.
Okay. Well, that's all that I had for you. Once again, thank you so much for calling me and to be on our special Halloween episode of the podcast.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Athens Happens. Make sure to check out thenewpolitical.com for podcast episodes and other content. Thank you, and until next time.